Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Continuing with our Depth December theme, we are trying a sort of slower Depths build today. That I like to call Entomb Depths because we are running Entomb as a tutor. So we do have the Dark Depths combo, so we can make 2020 either with Hexmage removing the counters or Thespian stage becoming copy with no counters on. So that's kind of our primary win condition, but we have other win conditions in this deck. So we have Grist the Hunger Tide as a 4 of, which is quite a lot of this card. You normally see it as something that people are tutoring off of Green Sun Zenith, but every time I've played with this card, I've always thought this is the best card in the decks I've played it in. And I just want to see what 4 of these feel like. This is like an engine. It can mill over things like Life from the Loam, which can then start our churning engine going, so it can do a lot of work that way too. It's also very good with cards like Vengeful Pharaoh, potentially, because we can mill this in, but we'll talk about these little bonus cards in a minute. So we've got a lot of tutors in this deck. We've got 11 tutors. 4 Elvish Reclaimer, which is a tutor / beat stick, which can do some real work. We've got the 4 crop rotations as you'd expect to see from a deck like this. And we have the 3 Entomb. And our Entomb package is mainly going to be finding us Life from the Loam. Sometimes it can find us a Darkblast. Sometimes it can find us Worm Harvest, which we can then use to get more threats, and this can be a way we can win the game. Sometimes it will find us the Vengeful Pharaoh as like a removal spell that we can then mill every turn with Life from the Loam, so we never have to draw it. And we can also find Raven's Crime in case we need to remove our opponent's hand by pitching out lands. We can do that via Life from the Loam and just draw 3 lands and then make our opponent discard 3 cards, and quite quickly our opponent will be hellbent, and then we can kind of assemble our combo that way. A little bit more grease for the wheels here. We've got some Thoughtseizes to try and disrupt what our opponent's doing. Obviously, Grist is a bit of removal as well, so we've got some interaction here as well as some of our funky lands. And we've got the Exploration to try and power this out, and this in combination with Life from the Loam can allow us to present the combo every turn in matchups, so that's an important thing to do. We have a fetch land mana base here with a couple of basics and a couple of Bayous. We've got some Urborgs, we've got Yavimaya. In terms of some spicy singletons, we've got a Sejiri Steppe to protect our creatures, Karakas to bounce scary things from our opponent's side, a Ghost Quarter, and a Wasteland, so we can kind of strip all our opponent's lands if that happens. We have a Boseiju as well, and we have a Maze of Ith. And that's pretty much where we're at for this one. Sideboard-wise, we've got a spicy Coffin Purge. This is something we can cast Entomb to go and get, and we have some Graveyard Hate when we need it. So it's just another bit of Graveyard Hate along with 4 Endurances. And then we've just got the things you'd probably expect to see. So we've got 4 Assassin's Trophy, 2 Abrupt Decay, and then some Null Rod effects. So that's kind of how we're going to be trying to beat combo decks, is either destroying the graveyard or dealing with artifacts. And yeah, that's it. That's the deck. I played a deck similar to this a while back. I can't remember how long ago it was, but I had a really good time. I've always been a big fan of Entomb in this sort of strategy. I used to play slow depths with Entomb once upon a time. So let's see how we feel about this and jump right in. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Let's jam. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Right, we're on the play for game 1. Our hand doesn't really do the things we want it to do, so I think we're going to mulligan. Okay, this hand does do things we want to do. We can get a Swamp and Entomb, and then we can start Life from the Loaming all the live long day, really. So we can keep this, probably throw away 1 Entomb. We'll get this Verdant Catacombs. Case of Days, are we supposed to play this Entomb in our opponent's upkeep? I think so. And I think we just get a basic Swamp here. Let's put the fear into our opponent. This plays around Force of Negation by doing it this way. Okay, what would I like to put into our graveyard? It's going to be a Dark Depths. That's not what our opponent was expecting to see. Chrome Mox. Alright, this could be bad for us. Is this combo or is this aggro? Fury. And an Ancient Tomb. This is probably initiative. Oh, okay, no. We could be doing full-on goblin-y stuff here that just happens to run some Fury. Well, this could be bad for news for us. They only hit 4 of that, so not the worst. We're not really going to have time to do a lot of Life from the Loaming. A Verdant Catacomb. So this will get us a Bayou so that we have black for the Hexmage next turn. And this is also just another card we get to pick up. It still might be too slow. Here comes Life from the Loam. Next turn, we have our Hexmage plus Dark Depths. Can we survive? Just another. If they had another Stick Goblin, they'd probably cast it last turn. Broadside Bombardiers. This is very potent. Alright, so I haven't done the maths, but this is a lot of damage. I don't think we're dead this turn, but we're pretty close to dead, right? Actually, we're dead next turn regardless, right? Oh no, they can just fling the Namesticker Goblin for 5 here, right? Just Lava Axe us. Yeah? Our opponent killed us on turn 2 with an aggro deck. I think Goblins is actually the best aggro deck in the format, personally. But, alright. I would like some removal. There's an argument for things like Collector Ouphe, but I don't think that's where I want to be. Vengeful Pharaoh is fine. Darkblast is fine. Like, a lot of our stuff is pretty reasonable. We're not going to need Bojuka Bog in this matchup. We're not going to need Karakas. Actually, Karakas can bounce and Muxus, so it's not the worst. Have a lot of cards we're trying to fit in here. Thoughtseize is good on the play, not so much on the draw. This isn't really a Raven's Crime matchup. I don't mind Worm Harvest, because if we ever get it off, that's just like infinite blockers usually. Darkblast is fine. The Restoration to speed us up is good. Being able to crop rotate for our combo. We're not going to run each Sejiri Steppe really in this matchup. Any other lands that can go? I don't think so. Maybe like a Wasteland is an option. I think Boseiju might be useful if our opponent's got some sort of Blood Moon effect that we need to care about. I don't really like Vengeful Pharaoh that much, right? Not in this particular matchup, because it's not necessarily going to get to kill very much, and they're just going to be going wide a lot of the time. The Entomb is still fine, although we are cutting a lot of the things that make the Entomb good here. So we'll just trim a couple of Entombs. Alright. Exploration hand would be nice. Turn 1 Elvish Reclaimer. Turn 2. What a wrong card. Not sure what our opponent's saying there. Sure, I'm not massively in love with this one, but we have some tools here that I quite like. So play out our Bayou. So we get our Elvish Reclaimer online, so that if they have like a rushed out Blood Moon, it can do a lot of stuff for us. We can go and get our green, and then we can use Boseiju. Right, no play from our opponent on turn 2. That's what we want to see. Another Bayou. What am I sacrificing here? We need Bayou and Bayou. We need a black and green source. So I think we play out the stage and then we hold back the Reclaimer. We can turn the Bayou into an Urborg, and then we can play Grist next turn and just start activating the Grist and hopefully get enough blockers that we're going to be okay. There is an Ancient Tomb. We do have access to Maze of Ith in our deck. We're not doing anything there. That's interesting. Let's get rid of this Bayou. We've got another Bayou in hand anyway. And another green source if we need it. We'll go and get ourselves the Urborg. This means that their Ancient Tomb can tap without hurting them if they wanted to. Trumpeting Carnosaur. Sure. A Maze of Ith. Alright. Green, black. Colorless. Let's play a Grist. Let's make some guys. Worms and insects. That's what we're doing. If we can put ourselves in a situation where we can cast Worm Harvest every turn, that's going to be pretty strong. Broadside Bombardiers. Okay, this can't sacrifice itself, but they can play something else. A Rabble Master. Okay, so this has Menace. They can attack with a 1/1 and this. They can sack the 1/1 to blow up the Grist. So they're going to use the ability, take out the Grist here, finish it off with the Bombardiers. Alright, this is terrible news for us. What do we want here? We might want the Karakas for Muxus, but Maze of Ith kind of does the same thing, but also better things at the same time. So I guess we play the Maze of Ith. It also taps for mana. But next turn we can do a big Worm Harvest. I say big, it'll be for 2 guys. We was really hoping to get another Grist activation just to mill ourselves a land, but Chalice of the Void with X = 1. We don't care about that. There is a Shatterskull Bahammer Pass. What fresh hell is this? Caves of Chaos Adventure. Okay, so now just like mono red stompy. Okay. Let's see what our opponent wants to do. Because their Rabble Master's attacking. Well, their Rabble Master might not attack, I guess, but it should attack. Yikes. Well, Maze of Ithing, this Goblin Rebel Master is the sensible thing to do. The question here is, are we trading off this 1/1 for this, or are we going to save some 1/1s so that we can try to double block this next turn? I think we just got to take out the Goblin while we can here, because they're just going to be bombardiering us all the live long day anyway. Alright, so we're going to turn our Thespian stage into a Bayou, so it at least taps for green. Thoughtseize, that's not really very helpful. So we have a choice this turn. Is it better to cast a... I guess we could have tried to hit this Chalice last turn, but that gives them more mana. And I don't really care about the Chalice right now, but it would have given us another land for our Worm Harvest. Because at the moment, this first one will only make 1/1, which isn't a lot. This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's not lethal. But if we make the Worm Harvest now, I think we're better off with the Maze of Ith, which means we're probably playing Karakas just in case there's something spooky comes up here. But it feels like our opponent's on like mono red good stuff rather than a dedicated Goblins deck, because they've shown us the Fury, the Carnosaur, and the Chaos Adventurer. Alright, so they have a 4/4 and they have a 5/3. These are not things I'm a particularly fan of. Okay. We'll protect ourselves a little bit here. Take a big hit. They can't kill us this turn. They can dome us for 6, but that's... Yikes. I'm not really sure how we're supposed to win this game. Our opponent is spectacularly far ahead. A Namesticker Goblin. This is the one that the Chaos Adventurer revealed. Sure, why not have another creature? 4 mana. An Unlicensed Hearse. Okay, that makes this Worm Harvest uncastable. Sacrificing the Namesticker Goblin so they can just kill us next turn on attacks. I don't believe we have any outs at this point. Yeah, we are just getting smushed under the heel of some potent aggro there. Yeah, we didn't stand a chance in that one, unfortunately. Not the greatest start to the league, but it's 4 more rounds, so let's see how they go. We're on the play for round 2. We don't have any starting mana, so this is a mulligan. This hand, yeah, we can certainly do some stuff here. We'll keep this. And I think we throw back the Vengeful Pharaoh here. I think this has to be a Bayou, which does expose us to Wasteland a little bit. But I can live with that. Well, I don't really have a choice. So we're definitely going to want green mana here. So here comes the Bayou. Here comes the Thoughtseize. Let's see if we can pick apart our opponent's hand. Hagra Mauling, Bowmasters, Sudden Edict. So we can take their only black source apart from the Lotus Petal and see if that gets us anywhere. That's an interesting one. Or we could take their only threat. Sudden Edict won't really stop what we're trying to accomplish. Does Hagra Mauling hit Planeswalkers? It's definitely going to be their land anyway, doesn't it? Destroy target creature. Yeah, I think we take their only threat here. I'm very tempted to take this Hagra Mauling. It's not very often you get to Thoughtseize a land. No, I think we take the Bowmasters. Just give ourselves a bit more time. So I think we're going to see the Brood Pit this turn. No, the Ancient Tomb. And the Lotus Petal. Or they find a play. They got like an opposition agent. Or are they just trying to scare us that they have one? We'll play a Thespian stage here. We do require another source of mana here. I think playing the Thespian stage is better there than trying to play the Dark Depths and hoping that we spike a black source. Especially when we already know they've got Sudden Edict. An Elvish Reclaimer. This is not going to live, is it? But we're going to need to work through these things at some point. Or do we just not do that and just try and find a mana source? I think that's probably acceptable. Like, we're not going to be getting through both of these edicts anyway. I think we're basically just looking for the Grist here. So that we can deploy the Grist and start making 1/1s, and then the Sudden Edict becomes completely useless. No play from our opponent there. Give me a mana source. Not a mana source. Alright, I still don't think we're playing out this Reclaimer yet. If we get the Grist up and running, then we get to ignore the edicts in our opponent's hand. What is this? An Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. Let's just say no to Bowmasters. So we can dredge the Darkblast if we want to. But I don't think that's really where we want to be. I think I'd much rather try and get a land. a Grief. This doesn't matter that much. We have 2 Grists, so we have a little bit of redundancy. It took one of our Grists. They're going to bash us for 1 here with the Orc army, and then we're going to draw a land and start doing things with a Grief, hopefully. Not Grief for Grist. Alright, so we found the land here. So we can play this guy out and plus, and then they can use a Sudden Edict and attack with both creatures to kill our Grist, which I think is an okay trade for us. Not an amazing trade, but I think it's one we're going to take. Go on, mill another Grist. No. Second insect token would have been excellent there. So let's see Sudden Edict here. Unless they've got something scarier. Chalice for 1. Okay. That's a little bit annoying, but Sudden Edict. We sacrifice our only creature. And now they're just going to come through and attack our Grist for 4. So we can do Hexmage and remove the counters from Chalice if we want. Do I want to Darkblast here? Into the Chalice of the Void. That's kind of going to be our Hexmage doing this thing. Alright. We have a Hexmage here. And then we can sacrifice this. I guess they can Sudden Edict this if they want to. But then their Sudden Edict goes and then we can just Thespian stage our Dark Depths. But we can try and block their Orc army. Just the Grief coming in, sure. Right, we'll play this. So now we can first strike down the Grief. And then next turn we can make our Dark Depths and we can play around a couple of Edicts. Give me a Sudden Edict. Or I got like an opposition agent or something here. Just a Hagra Mauling. Hagra Mauling on our Hexmage. I think we remove the counters from the Chalice here. We could remove the counters from the Orc army and kill that. But I think removing the Chalice so we can unlock this Elvish Reclaimer as well as some other tools in our deck is probably the way to go. We could dredge the Darkblast and then kill their Grief next turn if we want to. Then we'll see what our opponent's going to jam us. A Chalice for 1 again. Alright. Understood, opponent. Alright, what is our play here? I think it is make the Dark Depths using the Thespian stage so we can play around 1 Sudden Edict. Because we don't have a lot of turns left in this game. Can attack us with the Grief. Yep. I'll take it. Alright, let's do the play that we have available to us. Do you have 2 Edicts? You've already used 1. Oh, they don't. Excellent. Okay. Post-sideboard. I like having these removal spells in the deck. I think Vengeful Pharaoh is actually fine here. Darkblast for their like little small guys is fine. I don't think we want Thoughtseizes here. Bojuka Bog. We don't know how useful Bojuka Bog is going to be, but they're probably not running Reanimates if they've got like Chalices and stuff in their deck. So we can take out this Bojuka Bog. We keep the Karakas thing, so they might have a Shouldered. And we just need to find 1 more cut. I like all these things, really. Kind of like all the things we have. Raven's Crime is alright as well for finishing stuff off later on. Is it an exploration? Maybe it's an exploration here. Is Endurance worth playing? I don't really know where we'd fit that. No, we'll just keep like this. Endurance kind of plays into some of their edicts and things a little bit. So what does this hand do? We play Exploration into Dark Depths. So this is a turn 2 2020. Because we can go and get Urborg with the crop rotation. But I don't think a turn 2 2020 is how we want to play this game. I think we're better off trying to make a turn 2 Grist. Chalice for 1, you say? Alright. That shuts off some of the things we were trying to accomplish. Alright. There's a Yavimaya. Like, we could have played the Dark Depths in case we draw the Urborg, but I don't think that's how we're going to be winning this game. Shutting off our access to black mana via that Chalice is... Oh my god. Thank you so much, opponent. That Urborg that our opponent just played was aces for us right there. Now, they probably have Sudden Edicts and stuff. Oh, they're paying some costs over there. Let it resolve and then pay your costs and kill our guy. So Sudden Edict, we don't really get a response. And that's fine. They can just tap the Ancient Tomb for 1 black. Okay, they have an Oppo agent. Alright. We have a first striker, so the Oppo agent can't re-attack. Unless they have an Edict. Our plan is just to keep jamming stuff like Grist. And take over the game that way. Let's get Gristing. So this makes their Edicts a lot worse now. I don't think we're going to make a Marit Lage just yet, but it's an option we have available to us. I don't think I want to attack this first striker on blocks. Is pretty potent. Now, if our opponent taps out, then we'll just make a 20-20 end of turn and try and kill our opponent. Ancient Tombs. They have some available edicts right here. Sorcerer's Spyglass. Sure, are you going to name our Grist? I suspect. I think that's the scariest thing on the board here. If they don't name the Grist, then it means they don't have an edict. Of some description, like a Shoulder's Edict or something. So they probably have to name the Hexmage if they don't have an answer, which means our Grist just gets to tick up and take over the game. Now, they can see our hand, but it doesn't really do very much. They might decide that they don't want to lose their Chalice on 1, so it's definitely the Hexmage they've named. I think they were hoping that we'd pop the Hexmage and they could just name the Grist. I think Grist is just too strong on this board to give up. Yeah, they've gone for the Hexmage there. Interesting. No attack from the Oppo agent, as expected. Another Hexmage. Alright, let's make some stuff. So, black. Let's have another Hexmage. And do we want a Sejiri Steppe to try and force through some points of damage? We don't really need it to force... Well, we can use it to force through on the insect token. I don't really think that's where I want to be. I'm just deciding if I want additional mana next turn or not. I think I probably do. I think we'll force through 3 damage here. We've got 2 blockers. Like, we can start minusing the Grist if we want to kill some stuff. Our opponent's playing the Urborg is the reason we get to play this game, really. Because the Chalice completely locked us out without it. This Grief does nothing. We have a bunch of cards we can't cast, and we have a Life from the Loam that we want to be in our graveyard. So, like, they might have some graveyard hate. No, they're just taking the crop rot. Fair enough. So this Menace guy is potentially annoying, but I think it'll be fine. We could just kill it here and bash for a little bit. I don't hate that. Let's just kill the Grief because this has the evasion. I think we force through a couple of points of damage here. Again, we have 2 blockers. Tap this for green and black. We'll Life from the Loam, targeting these 2 lands. And then we'll play one of them out. And then we can start manually removing counters from the Dark Depths. I don't think that's how this game's going to go, but it's an option we have available to us. There's a Swamp from our opponent. Hexmage beatdown, too good. Right, let's remove a counter manually. Do I want a Life from the Loam Dredge right now? I think so. Ooh, a Vengeful Pharaoh. That's an exciting one, isn't it? We haven't found any lands in there, though. But let's plus this Grist and see if it finds anything for us. It does find a land. Not a great one into the opposition agent. Alright. Green and black. Let's play this out. It taps for green and black anyway because of the Urborg and Yavimaya, so we don't actually need to tap it for anything. To sacrifice it in the face of this Oppo agent. The Oppo agent attacking us. Yeah, our opponent's just had enough. So this is what I mean about Grist just taking over games. Like, if the game's kind of at parity and you just get, and you're sort of just passing the turn backwards and forwards, someone like a Grist just completely wins the game. Now, in the first match, we obviously didn't have the time to leverage something like a Grist because it was just a really hyper-aggressive deck. But in a matchup like this, pretty good. But our opponent did help us out by playing the Urborg for sure. All right, let's go to round 3. We are 1-1.
If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbo Depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbo Depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.
On the play for round 3. We have like a weird Ghost Quarter hand that can do some stuff as well as some Darkblast in. Like, this is a hand that will eventually win the game if things go to plan. So I guess we give it a go. We will need to find a green source, but we can always Ghost Quarter ourselves if we get in that sort of jam. If our opponent griefs us, we can always Darkblast their grief. So they have to take our Life from the Loam. It's a weird one. Don't think we necessarily do that. I don't know, we'll see. This is another one of those hands where it's kind of our deck really, where it has inevitability. But the question is, Do we get to leverage that inevitability in the matchup? Let's find out. Urborg Go is an interesting one for our opponent to deal with there. A City of Traitors, a Chromox. We're just going to be playing another one of these like hyper-aggressive red decks, because I don't think we beat those. Simon Spirit Guide, 3 mana, Broadside Bombardiers. Okay, so we can kill this on our turn using the classic Darkblast trick. If you're not familiar with, I'm about to show you. So what we do is we go to our upkeep, we Darkblast this creature, we go to draw, we dredge this, play out a land, cast a Darkblast, and then we kill the creature. The classic Darkblast trick. We did just mill 2 green sources though, which is less than ideal. But our Ghost Core is still live to get us what we need. Darkblast is in a strange spot at the moment, because obviously it's very good at killing Orcish Bowmasters, but Orcish Bowmasters pushed out a lot of the things that it's good to kill outside of Orcish Bow. Oh dear, oh dear. Yikes, was not expecting that. This is going to kill us pretty quick. So we're looking for the Karakas that's gone. So we need a green source. Or Maze of Ith here. And we're not just... Okay, so we found the green source. So our play here is get back these 3 lands. So we have the Boo covered next turn, but our opponent can hit us either for 7 or for 8. And so they can hit us for 7, or they can attack us for 4, throw at us for 4, and draw 4 cards, knowing that they're not going to be able to do much with Boos for the rest of the game, which I think is the correct play. Oh, they're supposed to attack first here, though. They missed 4 points of damage. I'll take it. Unless they're fishing for something specific they want to attack with this turn. It's going to be a 4th Eolingus, a big one. Because if it is, I don't think we beat this. Oh, this is going to be exactly lethal, 4th Eolingus. No, they're 1 shy. I don't think we're beating this, so I think we're going to scoop it up. Yeah, a matchup against this sort of deck does not feel like a place I really want to be. So, removal please. And things like Vengeful Pharaoh is kind of slow. Maybe the Worm Harvest is too slow as well. So we're cutting a bunch of this sort of stuff here. That gives us a slot if we want a card back. I don't mind Collector Ouphe as a creature that can also stop some of their fast mana draws. We don't need Bojuka Bog in this matchup, so we can have another Ouphe. It's at least a creature, right? I'm not going to board in Null Rods, but I wouldn't mind having a creature that does good stuff. Karakas has some text here. We've seen Minsk and Boo. Ghost Quarry type stuff is fine. So it's Boseiju. Alright. I think this is about as good as we're getting. I do not think we are beating Ancient Tomb decks with our deck very readily. So, turn 1, Reclaimer. Turn 2, Assassin's Trophy. Turn 3, Marit Lage. I will take that hand. Alright, let's smash down our Elvish Reclaimer. It's a good card. So next time we can play the Urborg and Assassin's Trophy something. The turn after we can play our Thespian stage and then end step, crop rotate. Our opponent showed us white mana, so Solitude is a thing we have to be concerned with. So maybe we're not smashing down the 2020, maybe we are playing the Grist. It just depends on what the board state is looking like at that point. I imagine the board state is going to be we need to play our guy or lose the game. This guy. Not a fan of this guy. Alright, here is Boo. So we're going to get bashed. 4 drops on turn 1 is not where I want to be. And if we kill it with our Assassin's Trophy, our opponent gets to advance their land and just make more 4 drops. So not the situation I want to be in. Should we draw a crop rotation? That's kind of useful, but does come with a slight issue. I guess we have to play the Urborg here. And we have to turn this into Karakas. Are we attacking with our Elvish Reclaimer? No, I don't. Yes, we have to sacrifice our Urborg here so that we at least have the green mana to do a crop rotation. Maybe it was supposed to be a Thespian stage that we put down there, so we've still got our colours, but we have this other crop rotation anyway. Sure, you can make your Boo bigger. Let's go and get ourselves a Karakas. Say no to Boos in our area. Okay, that was an alright turn. Swords to Plowshares. Okay, that's 1 less piece of removal for our 2020 if we can get there. So we kind of need to keep this up for the purposes of Boo. But we can play out this Thespian stage, and then we can play out the next Thespian stage and turn that into a Dark Depths. And instead of doing the Karakas, we can just make a 2020. Alright, let's just say no to this. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. They're about to draw a 3rd card. What do I want to do about that? So you can put your counters on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they have a Solitude kicker along over there. So not a big lover of that. I think we're better off just getting the Grist here. Or getting the mana for the Grist, I should say. So we'll crop rotate away this Thespian stage. Would I rather have green mana or black mana? I think it's probably black mana, which means we're getting the Urborg here. Immediately draw into some mana, sure. This time we go black, black, green. Actually, no. If we crack our Verdant Catacombs for a Bayou, or I guess it can be a forest here. And then we go green, 1, and black. Then we can play out our Grist. We can start cooking with this. And if these turn cycles remain similar to how they have been, then we'll be alright. We do have an emergency Assassin's Trophy if that's what we need to do, because the Karakas taps for black. There is a Lotus Petal. So there could be a big 4th Eorlingus in our future. I'm just playing out the Chromox. This is interesting. Broadside Bombardiers. Broadside Bombardiers. They're putting 3 counters on that. Okay, so I will Assassin's Trophy this. Oh, that's worked out really well for us. Alright, so green mana. They already had green mana because of their Mox. They can attack with the Boo for 1 here if they want. We're finding a way. Yeah, this is definitely attacking. The Grist. I think it's better to... Is it better to just take 1 on the Grist? I think it's okay to take 1 on the Grist here because we can bounce this out next turn anyway. Another Assassin's Trophy. Not unhappy to see that. It's not quite where I want it to be though. Are we attacking for 1 with our Insect token? I don't think so. If we hold back 2, we can... Although we kind of have the Bombardiers covered anyway. We can attack them for 1 here. Now we've got Karakas plus 2 Assassin's Trophies. 4th Eorlingus, gonna have a bad time with that. But that's just the nature of how this game is panning out. And Urza's Saga. That's a pretty good one. I think that is worth Assassin's Trophying. Let's return this. Let's just say no to Urza's Saga. It's too powerful. I did not get a basic off of that. That's exciting. There is a Dark Depths. I don't think we need to attack here. So we can make a 2020 this turn. Is the 1 card our opponent's been sandbagging forever. And Endurance. Oh, no, sorry, Solitude, not Endurance. I'm going to pop our graveyard out up here. It's going to be a big 4th Eorlingus. I believe it is. So the Minsk and Boo can put some counters on one of these guys. But we can make a 2020 to block with. And our opponent won't be able to Solitude it because they won't have a white card in hand. I think we've kind of threaded the needle a little bit here. You need to be attacking with a bunch of guys to make sure you get the Monarch. To give you a chance at solituding us. Yeah, this is the minimum amount of creatures they need to attack with. Oh, they're coming at the Grist. That's interesting. Right, so this gets bounced. This becomes a copy of this. Okay, so this is coming at us. This is coming at us. 2 in the middle coming at the Grist. Alright, our opponent's just scooping up. So what we probably do there is just stop our opponent getting the Monarch by blocking... so these 2 and this... Yeah, so these 2, we just block these 2 and let the Grist die, and then our opponent can't draw a white card for Solitude. Alright, that worked out pretty well. Removal was good. Let's go back in. Karakas also very good. This is a turn 2 2020. I will take that. Now, if our opponent plays a turn 1 Chalice, that's not great news for us. But maybe they won't play the Chalice and it'll be great. Uh-oh. Ancient Tomb. Chromox. This is going to be a threat instead. Shaman Spirit Guide under the Chromox. A Mox Opal. Okay. They have 1 spell here. It's a good one, but we have the Karakas. So we are okay here for now. Collector Ouphe would obviously be a great find. Didn't realise how far our opponent was indexing into these sorts of spells. Into all the artifacts. Right, so play this. Green, play Exploration. Play Verdant Catacombs. Pass. I think we do get the Karakas here. And I think I'll get a Bayou. We'll crop rotate this away into a Karakas. Goodbye, hamster. Alright. Not unhappy with how that turn went so far. The One Ring. How do we beat the One Ring? That's a different problem. Okay. They got 3 basics and they're running a Prismatic Vista. That's interesting. A Thespian's Stage. It's not really the half we're looking for, is it? But we can play Thespian Stage and Verdant Catacombs. Go and get the basic forest here. Oh, is it basic forest? No, it's probably swamp, so we can definitely cast our Hexmage. That makes sense. I don't think our opponent's running Blood Moon at this point. Right, get our Grist up and running. Oh wow, we milled a Grist there. So we got a bonus guy. Pretty exciting. Bonus tokens, I'll take them. Now, this One Ring is going to give them a lot of stuff. It's pretty annoying that that was their draw off the top. But sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens to you. Sometimes it happens to your opponent. There's no point getting annoyed about it. Alright. And Urza's Saga. We have that covered with the Ghost Quarter. So you know to mince and booze in your area. Right, we'll plus this. We'll play out a couple of lands. This Thespian Stage will become a Ghost Quarter. This means we have the next Urza's Saga covered. Let's get the damages in. If we want to be nice, we can always remove all the counters from our opponent's One Ring. I'm not going to do that. We're hoping that they don't find the stuff they need in a good enough time frame, or that we can like string together a 2020 and they don't have the specific removal they need. Sure. Not a big fan of them playing out a bunch of mana because that suggests to me 4th Eolingus. Alright, they're not tapping for white, so this is probably a Fury. Bombardiers. It's a pretty good one. Still got a bunch of mana over there. Another one. Okay. Not enjoying where this is going. Our little Karakas looking a little bit puny over there. Yep, you've got a big Bombardiers. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think Domi for 12 this turn. I make it. Oh no, I've made a horrible mistake here. Oh no. We were supposed to bounce the booth first because now they get to sacrifice it to one of the Bombardiers. Oh, they didn't do it. Okay, thanks, opponent. They can sacrifice it as soon as they've attacked here. Alright, so this doesn't have trample though, so we can work on it. But this means that next time they attack, they can just sacrifice a bunch of stuff. So they've got a Minsk and Boo they can sacrifice for 6, and then they can sacrifice any other opponent. So we're going to need to find some help here. Right, so what are they? They sacrificed the Mox to target us. Oh, they just got us dead now anyway, because they sacrificed the Minsk and Boo, right? Oh, they sacrificed the One Ring. Same difference. Yeah, we gave it a good go. Like, our opponent top decked the One Ring after they spent their entire hand and we answered it on turn 1. So if they took like another 2 turns to find any action, then I think we probably win that game. But yeah, that was pretty close though. I can't be upset with how the deck performed. I think Minsk and Blue being their primary threat for a lot of time really helped us out. If they had like Caves of Chaos Adventure or something, I think we'd probably just lose. So, well, not necessarily, I guess. We can Maze of Ith it around and stuff, so it's similar. But not a win there. I don't think, on average, that we're going to be beating these decks because they were a bit too fast to let sort of our grinding inevitability happen. But we can just throw a 2020 into play quite quickly. All right, let's go to round 4. All right, their opening hand for round 4 is not really good enough. Let's send it back. Yeah, I like this one. We'll keep this and get rid of the Worm Harvest. Let's see if we need to be Thoughtseizing or Reclaimering on turn 1. Or Darkblasting, maybe. If you're just going to be a Mana Dork deck, this Darkblast in our hand is going to be wonderful. Or they're going to be some sort of horrible turbo deck that we can't really deal with. A Green Sun Zenith where X equals 1. A Reclaimer. That's an annoying one that we can't actually deal with our Darkblast yet. We can do it next turn. So, would I rather Reclaimer or Thoughtseize here? Our opponent's got 4 cards in hand. If we're double Darkblasting next turn, or at least want the option to double Darkblast, I think we're going to lead off on a Thoughtseize here. Okay, the One Ring. We're looking at Cloudpost. Understood. Darkblasting this Elvish Reclaimer feels like a good play. Darkblast ahoy. Finish it off. They will activate in response and get a Cloudpost. Probably sacrificing their forest, I would imagine. They did not sacrifice the thing I thought they would. Right, so I played an actual Cloud Post from hand, so that's a little bit worrying for us. Time for Darkblast is gone. I guess we are looking at Reclaimer into... Going to get ourselves a Bayou here and drop the Hexmage. I think our opponent is likely to be able to win this one. They have a Boseiju, so they can mess with some of our plays. And we can't do Dark Depths while they have green mana up. We can certainly bounce their Eldrazi, but that's not really a winning formula. So this is the turn where they can drop the Boseiju and cast a Primeval Titan. And they probably have Karakas in their deck as well. So they can insulate against the 2020. Alright, I think we just lose the game here. So we're kind of like trying to grind the game a little bit, and our opponent is just much better at grinding than we are, because with inevitability they will just win the game, because that's what Emrakul and Ulamog say on them. So they got another Cloud Post and an Eye of Ugin. So play Vesuva and attack next turn. They should be able to activate and put an Emrakul on the stack. So we need to find... They might have that new land that copies the land in the graveyard. So even if we Wasteland this Eye of Ugin, they can get another one. That would be pretty slick. I don't think Darkblast is where we want to be right now. A Dark Depths, on the other hand. What does that achieve for us? It's not nothing. So they can make their Cloud Post tap for 6 next turn. So that's 6, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 mana. And that's the exact amount they need to do the combo. Huh. Alright. I think that is the end of the game. Oh, they played the Maze of Ith. Oh, well, we can beat that. Provided they can't put the Eldrazi into play this turn, which I don't think they can. I guess they can play Ulamog, can't they? But if they put Ulamog on a stack, we can sacrifice the relevant things. Unless I've done my maths wrong. 10 for 5. 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. No, they need 21, right? I'm counting the Eye of Ugin. Oh no, the Eye of Ugin has to tap to get the guy. So I'm counting the Eye of Ugin as 2 mana. Okay, so a Glimmer Post going up to above 20 is pretty good. I think with them I would have just put Emrakul on the stack and been done with it. It's normally a pretty good way of winning games with Magic the Gathering. Okay, so if we make the 2020 and block there, they Maze of Ith anyway, and then they can just maybe play a Ulamog. So we're not supposed to do that. In case you're wondering why we didn't just try and gobble up this Primeval Titan. How are we going to get these last 6 points of damage in? That was a doozy. Now we can hit them for 23. So we can have 3 mana left over after this. 3 plus 5 is 8, 9. Oh yeah, so they can just put an Ulamog. But like I said, we can kind of play around that. Which 2 permanents would you like to target, please, opponents? Targeting the Elvish Reclaimer is pretty good here. I don't think they want to target either of our lands. I'm targeting both of our creatures. Okay. So this gets us a Wasteland, I believe. And then the Hexmage gives us a 2020. How are we going to get these last 6 points of damage there? That is the conundrum. Also, they have an Ulamog in play, which is a lot. Have the Maze of Ith covered. Bouncing it's not great. Keeps us alive, but we just lose all of our permanents. I will not be dredging the Darkblast. Grist the Hunger Tide. Do anything here? I don't think so. I think we're done. So this is not ideal, but Assassin's Trophy destroys target permanent, so we're going to have that in there. We don't really want them to hit us with any creatures. I don't think Vengeful Pharaoh or Darkblast are really going to do stuff. Obviously, it did stuff in the Darkblast did stuff in that game, but that's unusual, I would say. This isn't a Bojuka Bog matchup. This isn't a Sejiri Steppe matchup either. Ghost Quarter and Wasteland are excellent though. Boseiju pretty good. Thoughtseize pretty good. Our Entombs are not at their best if we're trimming some of the things they can find. Do we want stuff like Collector Ouphe and Endurance just as creatures? I think Collector Ouphe can shut down an Expedition map, which isn't nothing. That's probably going to be better than Entomb a lot of the time. Although they don't want Entomb over a Grist Grist is a little bit slow. Let's have an Entomb. Alright. I'm not feeling confident about this matchup, but we can make a turn 2 2020, and our opponent has to spend their crop rotations on Karakas, which slows the game down, I guess, but it's not really good enough, is it? This is a sort of matchup where something like an opposition agent is what you really want. No starting mana, so we have to mulligan this one. Speaking of no starting mana, this is another one that has to go back. Alright, so we can keep this. Thoughtseize. I guess we lose the Abrupt Decay. And maybe the Grist. Although we're not casting the Grist on 2, are we? On 3. Yeah, we'll get rid of the Grist. And the plan here is to... Our Yavimaya is a bit annoying here. We'll help our opponent out, but just be like all expedition maps. Nothing else. They might have a once upon a time. Yeah, okay, that's what's happening. I'm just seeing if they want to play it. There is a forest. I don't feel so bad about the Yavimaya, but Reclaimer, Spirit Guide, Thespian Stage. Not ideal. I guess we take one of the Reclaimers. So we've got to be careful about our own Dark Depths in the face of the Thespian Stage over there. So if we play a Dark Depth, they can copy it, and that'll be bad for us. Forest, Elvish Reclaimer. Not a surprise to see those cards. Reclaimer of our very own. That is interesting. Is that worth Thoughtseizing? I think that is worth playing over other things here. I think we will Thoughtseize our opponent here. Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, Pithing Needle. I think it's the Pithing Needle that goes here. So we can at least just start making Wastelands and stuff. Although we can get a Wasteland, our opponent can then get a Wasteland, and by copying it, and weird stuff can happen potentially. So we'll see. It might just end up in a weird Elvish Reclaimer beatdown game here. There's a Maze of Ith. It taps for black and green. You are welcome, opponent. They're probably just going to cycle it away for a Cloud Post. They could get a Dark Depths. That's a little bit risky. But they can do it at our end step and just see if that gets them there. It's kind of interesting. And they have the Spirit Guide as well. Yeah, that's interesting. There is a Life from the Loam. I guess we are on do stuff with our Reclaimer mode. We can't stop our opponent from making a 2020 in the next turn cycle. But we can go and get a Karakas. Let's see if they go for the Marit Lage plan. Try and hoist me with my own petard. Oh, we got rid of the forest. I guess we have a Yavimaya in play. A Cloud Post. That's interesting. Do I want to cut my opponent off green right now? I think so. I don't want to cut myself off green, actually. Because we kind of need this Life from the Loam. That's a little bit annoying. There's the Thespian Stage. This can then copy the Cloud Post. Let's get a Wasteland. Another Urborg. This is what we want to see. We play the Urborg. We Wasteland this Cloud Post. And they will immediately... that's kind of annoying, isn't it? I guess we can hold up the Reclaimer for another turn. Because I want to Wasteland something into the Reclaimer. So whilst we have this Reclaimer and this Wasteland, our opponent's less likely to do Wastelandy things, Reclaimery things. We'll see. They might just tunnel into it anyway. Not want to play into our Wasteland. Like, we had the option of then trying to Loam, but we can get a Ghost Quarter here. Would love to find an Exploration. That'd be great, so we can just double strip mine every turn. A Forest. Can't be many more of those left in our opponent's deck. A Karakas. Don't hate that one. Right, so the first Wasteland doesn't do anything. Just Ghost Quarter this. They probably have Ramanap Excavator in their deck. Right, let's loan back these Disruptive Permanents. We can find an Assassin's Trophy or Abrupt Decay for this Reclaimer. Then we're all good. We'll take a normal draw next turn. Maybe we're supposed to attack for one there. Because we're not blocking. Now, copying a forest. That's fine. Ghost Quarter still hits it. So this could be a weird, long, grindy one. This. It'll probably just end with our opponent just casting an Emrakul and killing us. But we might be able to wait through all of our opponent's mana sources. Another Thespian Stage. Interesting. He's immediately turning it into a forest. No. This could be a Primeval Titan off of the Elvish Spirit Guide. If it is, then I think we just lose. I guess we have one draw, but we're just going to lose. We need to draw into the Assassin's Trophy here. But their Primeval Titan is just going to beat us down anyway. And this kind of sets back everything we've been doing for the last few turns. So, pretty awkward. What is our solution here? We kill this. So we draw an Assassin's Trophy. We can blow up the Primeval Titan. But they're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 8 mana, which is a lot. Like, that means they've got so many live draws in their deck. Yeah, they can attack us with the Reclaimer as well. Yikes. We're not blocking. And I don't think we are winning this one. I think if we don't draw the Assassin Trophy now, we should just scoop. Yeah, we're not winning this one. Yeah, our opponent is just much better at the mid to late game than we are. Like, we need to set up the lock here, but the lock's very hard to do into the Reclaimer. And we just didn't draw the removal for it, which is a bit of a shame. Alright, the positive record is gone, but we can still get 2-3 and get some play points back. And I think some of the rounds have been a bit close. Maybe not this one, but the previous one against the sort of multicolour deck was pretty close. Alright, let's go to the final round. Alright, we're on the play for the final round. Our hand is turn 4 2020, but we have a little bit of disruption and Boseiju can do some work too. I think we're going to keep this and see how it pans out. I think we'll start on a swamp here, just to keep ourselves super safe mana-wise. Although we wouldn't mind baiting out a Wasteland actually. So I think I will start on the Bayou. Okay, let's see what you're working with there, opponent. Okay, what here am I actually worried about? I guess we take the Channeler and just throw them down. We don't need to play any. But the only other option there is the Ponder, so they can't ponder into Wasteland. There's a Ponder. I think our next turn is basic land. And then when we play a Thespian stage out, we can copy a basic straight away, so it can't be Wastelanded. They did not shuffle their library. A Mishra's Bauble. Vampire Hexmage. Does that change anything here? I think that means that we get a basic swamp rather than a basic forest. Okay. Let them think about potential blue mana by leaving this uncracked. I didn't believe our opponent's running Stifle. Their build looks pretty stock so far. Another Ponder, that's pretty good for them. Part of the problem with this Hexmage though is that casting it gives them an opportunity to use this Daze in their hand. A crop rotation. Interesting. I think I'll play this and crack this for a black source and play a Vampire Hexmage around a Daze and see if we can get a Force of Will out of our opponent. I think we just get a Bayou and just play more into Wastelands here. Because the thing that they're going to Wasteland isn't going to be our mana sources here. We already have the one basic to copy when the time comes. Generally, depth strategies are pretty good into Delver. So we can't really rely on this Force of Will to do anything. Our opponent needs to find an answer to Marit Lage. That could be a Wasteland day, but we'll see. It's going to be a Ponder or a Brainstorm. A Thought Scour. So they're going Turbo Murktide. Alright, so they have a Wasteland. They're just Wastelanding straight away. Okay. That's interesting when we're sat here with the Dark Depths. They must have... Yeah, I was going to say they must have a removal spell for the Dark Depth, for the Hexmage. A Life from the Loam, you say? I don't hate that one. How do you like them apples, opponent? So in 2 turns we can make an uncountable 20/20, and then every 2 turns we can basically rebuy that combo. Should be a Murktide. Like, we could have tried to crop rotate for a Bojuka Bog, but they'd definitely be counterspelling that with a Daze. There is the Murktide. There's a Bauble. We're not going to dredge Loam because we're looking for something like an Exploration draw. Well, Force of Will and Daze to beat through here. Now we do lose to Lightning Bolt at present. Verdant Catacombs. That's not really the one, is it? Alright, this will copy this forest. So I need to play a Wasteland this turn, or have the Borrower in hand. Thought Scour. I don't think we're trying to crop rotate for a Maze of Ith here. A Hexmage. Does that change anything here? I don't believe it does. Play Dark Depths. And our opponent's upkeep will make a 20/20. And hope it's good enough. Our opponent fetched the land. Now they're in their upkeep. We will copy the land. Choose Bauble. This gives them another draw step to try and find a borrower. They target themselves. They knew if they could scoop up early, I guess. Or they might have had a fetch. We've got the borrower. Or they feel like they're casting another Murktide. Sure. Ours is bigger still, so they're still with this Daze and this Force of Will in their hand. Not a big fan of that one. And Entomb. That could be useful. Let's cast it. It's going to remove a bunch of counters off of a Murktide. Force of Will, pitching Daze. One card in hand. Alright, so now we play out this Urborg. Is the last card in their hand a Brazen Borrower? Has to be a one-of Brazen Borrower. Why would you counterspell that Hexmage though if you had a Borrower? That makes no sense. I don't think it's a Borrower. You just don't counterspell that if you have the Borrower. You just protect your hand from something like a Thoughtseize. Oh, are you kidding me? Okay, Seek the Beast. A Daze and an Unholy Heat. We can play around the Daze. Alright. Took a little bit of finagling. Okay. So, Endurance, very good in this matchup. Removal spells, very good in this matchup. Vengeful Pharaoh, pretty reasonable in this matchup. Darkblast, varying shades of useful in this matchup. I don't really like crop rotation into the Delver matchup because they just say no and then you have a bad time. Boseiju is useful here. Karakas is not useful, so we can get rid of that one. Wasteland and the Ghost Quarter are fine, as is the Boseiju. Maybe we're just getting rid of some Thoughtseizes, and that gives us one more slot to play with to find. I like the Crime. I like the Crime. We'll get rid of Entomb here. We'll get rid of one Entomb. Haven't really done much Entomb stuff lately. This opening hand doesn't play magic, so we're going to mulligan it. This opening hand requires help. Any mana source in our deck is good. We have 2 draws to find a mana source. We have no 1-drop. No, I think we're going to mulligan. Right, this is the best of the bunch so far. We'll keep this. This is a good way to undo mulligans. So I think we get rid of 1 Catacombs. I guess we don't really need the exploration given our lower land count right now. Play the Strand from our opponent. We can play just on basics to begin with. DRC, that's a pretty potent Magic the Gathering card. There's a lot of surveilling going on here. Right, they're cracking the baubles. A Bojuka Bog. I think we play that next turn, maybe. Let's go for the Reclaimer. Okay. They can play a little Murktide this turn if they want to. We're going for a little Murktide here. We are. Okay. Too bad for us. We don't need to Bojuka Bog now. We can go and get Maze of Ith if we want. Thespian stage. Not unhappy to see that. I think we will play out the Catacombs here. With the intention... Actually, no, we need to... I was going to say we need to crack that land before we can. Okay, I've passed priority here, so that might cost us the game. We wanted to crack this when they didn't have mana available. Because now we can get done with timings on our Elvish Reclaimer activations. That's annoying. I guess we do it now. Are they going to blow us out? Okay, we're not getting blown out for this. That's acceptable. There's a Tropical Island. Take 4. Problem with getting Maze of Ith here. I guess we get Maze of Ith, then we play Thespian Stage and Life from Loam. Actually, that's Force of Negation's not great for us here. But you can't have everything, right? So, let's get these 2 lands back. Start the grinding. A Daze. Sure. Do they have a Surgical to go with this? We obviously cannot pay. Goodbye Life from the Loam. What is this? Seeking the Beast. Mishra's Bauble and Polluted Delta. Oh, sorry, no. Tropical Island and Force of Will. The other ones are what they did before. Okay, so Force of Will is a dead card because we're not going to cast anything in this turn. Something. Tap the Murktide Regent. We will untap it. And we'll continue on with our lives. Take the Loam here. I think it's strong. Don't really want to exile the graveyard while they have the Murktide necessarily. We can play the stage and play around a Wasteland. Sorry, not Wasteland. A Daze here. I think drawing 3 cards is good though. It's going to be hard cast Force of Negation. No. Okay, we just get to draw the 3 cards there. Excellent. And then we can play Grist next turn. Just kind of keep the train rolling a little bit. More Seeking of the Beast. Okay. Murktide Regent. Interesting. And a Thought Scour. So this Murktide Regent is going to be buffing the first one. We're going to need to start leveraging our Grist. Slightly punished for not playing the Bojuka Bog there. But they would have had 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, they would have been able to play the Murktide regardless. Yeah, especially with another land as well. Playing the Beast first. Here we're going to see another Murktide. Yep, there's going to be some triggers here. So they got an 8-8 and a 7-7. They didn't want to go through the rigmarole of attacking with it. So, do I want to Dredge Life and the Loam here for the chance to hit a Marit Lage? We don't have the mana to do that yet, so I think we're going to take a regular draw. Okay, so I kind of want to copy our Maze of Ith, which doesn't leave us with much in the way of options of what we're playing for the rest of our turn there. We do this, then we copy our Maze of Ith, and then we try and dodge Wastelands for a couple of turns until we can leverage our Grist enough to win the game. Our opponent is heavily favoured from this point. There's a little Questing Druid. He probably won't remain that little for that long. Some triggers there. Feels like a game 3 is relatively likely. Is our opponent playing Thought Scour over Brainstorm? Feels like there might be. Is that like a hedge against Orcish Bowmasters just getting completely blown out with the Brainstorm? And obviously it fuels the deck a lot. Interesting. Taking a lot of damage here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's going to put us to 4. And they got a lot of damage on the crapback next turn. Making a 20-20 isn't going to help. What is going to help? I don't know. We can get a Vengeful Pharaoh. I'll play a Swamp. Bojuka Bog. Thespian Stage. Bayou. Let's play a Grist. 3 cards in our opponent's hand. That's Force of Will. Yeah, this is a lot of triggers. Yeah, I think we're done here. Let's go to the final game of this round. And the final game of this league, in fact. So, do I want to change anything here? I don't think so. I'm quite happy with how we're operating. This is not a keeper. We're going to mulligan this. This one is the classic 1-2 punch of turn 1 Urborg, turn 2 Hexmage. If that's what we're interested in. I think we'll keep this and throw back a Boseiju. I don't think we just ball straight into it though. Although that does give us the ability to play the Grist as like our backup plan. And we'll see how this turn transpires. Mishra's Bauble. Cracking the Bauble, targeting us. Do they keep a no-lander? That's interesting. Do they just forget to play their land? That's a pretty big deal. That means no borrower. Nice top. I won't tell them I had another one in hand yet. I'll do this in upkeep so they can't Wasteland. Seal of Removal they could get us with. And then we kind of go back to scratch. There is a Ponder from our opponent. I don't think that's going to do it. Alright, so we managed a 2-3. So, you know, some play points back. I think there were some things I noticed about the deck that I'd like to talk about. So let's get into it. So we never really used the Raven's Crime for Vengeful Pharaoh. I think this is more of a fun of rather than a thing that you should really be playing. Especially with the amount that creatures hit these days is pretty gross. The only matchups where you want this is like the little matchups like Death and Taxes or like Delver, where they may be hitting you with a 3-power guy instead of... But they can still hit you with a massive Murktide and then the kind of damage is already done. So I'm not really sure we particularly want this card. But, you know, it's a fun one that I like to break out every now and then. I think what I did really want was more Wastelands. I think being able to be a Wasteland Loam deck alongside the other things we're doing would be a lot more powerful. And if we're... Like, the Entombs, I think, are fine. They're just tutors for Life from the Loam, right? And instead of having to play your first one and maybe get 0 value off of it, you entomb it, and then by the time you cast it, you're actually getting some value. So you pay 1 mana instead of 2 up front, and it gets you deeper into your deck. So I think that package is still fine. Being able to just do the big Hexmage thing is obviously really powerful, and we've won games because of it. I do still like Worm Harvest. We didn't really get to do very much with it this league, unfortunately, or in fact anything with it. It's kind of something you want in the late game for the really, really grindy stuff. And we have a lot of ways of milling it over. It's not something we ever want to see in our hand. And we did see it in our hand and never in our graveyard, really. So, not ideal. So, I think what I would be wanting to do to improve this deck would be adding in more Wastelands. So, I think Vengeful Pharaoh, this can be a Wasteland. I think we can probably trim one Entomb for another Wasteland. And then I don't really know we're fitting in the 4th Wasteland. We could just cut the Ghost Quarter and just have 4 Wastelands and just go in more that way. I think that's probably better. So we turn this Ghost Quarter into a Wasteland. That would kind of be where I want to start with this. Raven's Crime is pretty good. We didn't really get to show it off in this one, but last time I played in Entomb Depths list, Raven's Crime won us like loads of games. And Darkblast is pretty solid. I think you can certainly see what it did there. I think just having two Entomb still gives us like effectively 3 copies of all these cards if we want them, as well as just being a tutor for a land if we've got life from the Loam, or just a tutor for life from the Loam. Maybe our mana base is a little bit squiffy, and we should probably try and think about shoring that up. Now, we don't have the most amount of like green-black sources, do we? So we got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's not a lot. I think that definitely needs addressing. So that's probably where I would go with this next. Maybe we're not supposed to be an exploration deck list. We're supposed to be a Mox Diamond list. So we've got what, 19 plus another 8. So that's 27 lands. And we're talking about adding in another 2 lands. So that's 29 lands. Yeah, so these explorations should be Mox Diamonds, I think. And that will kind of smooth out the mana base a little bit more. And that can still give you Grist one turn ahead sort of thing. It's not quite as good with Dark Depths because you can't do the easy turn 1 exploration, turn 2 make Marit Lage. But we're not so much about that. We're just sort of grinding a little bit. So I think the exploration is a mistake here. So my changes next time, if I play this, will be to cut these cards and the Ghost Quarter, add in 3 Wastelands, 1, 2, 3, and we add in 3 Chrome Mox. Sorry, not Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond. And I think that would improve the deck quite a lot. I did feel like maybe we want some removal main deck outside of the Grist, but the Grist is just a really flexible card that does all the things we want it to do. Really, like, it's a threat, it's removal, it's an engine for milling our library so we can find more pieces. It just seems really strong. I don't really want to go away from that. I think Grist is one of the better things you can be doing in green-black if you're playing a slightly slower game. This is a tool that I wished I had back in the day when I used to have Mox Diamonds and played like slow depths in paper. Sideboard wise, I think I liked all the tools we had. Like, we didn't bring in the Coffin Purge, we never had a matchup for it, but there's clearly obvious matchups where you would want it, so I don't think that's a problem. And obviously the Null Rod Collector stuff is good too. Some of the I'm not sure how we're really beating Cloud Post decks. Whereas if we have 4 Wastelands, then all of a sudden beating Cloud Post becomes a bit more possible. So I think that's somewhere to improve this list for sure. But other than that, I think we showed what the deck can do a little bit. We stumbled a few times, and I think we've sort of found the source of the problem. So adding in another 3 green-black sources into the deck is certainly going to help that out. That's going to give us 17 is it? Yeah, it's going to give us 17 starting sources, and it'll be like 9 sources that can get us green or black, like on turn 1. So I think that's probably a market improvement from where we're at right now. But yeah, I do enjoy playing like sort of slightly slower depths. I did write an article about slow depths on my Patreon a few months back, if you want to take a look at that. Maybe I should dig out that list and have a play of the list I sort of formulated at the end, but I wanted to try a few little bits and pieces out. And I really wanted to see how 4 Grist felt, and honestly it felt pretty reasonable. I think the problems we had weren't necessarily because of that. And we did get very close to beating that 4-colour deck. They just happened to top deck the ring a few turns before we really wanted them to. So all in all, we knew we weren't going into this one expecting to get a trophy, but we had some good learning experiences and some nice plays. and we made some 2020s, and that's what this month is all about. So I hope you're enjoying December. Let me know how you feel about it. You can tweet at me and tell me you hate it if you really like. That's fine too. It's not everyone's cup of tea, I suppose, but you know, we're getting weirder and getting more weird and wonderful as time goes on as well. I've got some really weird lists queued up, and if you have any that you would like played on the channel, by all means get in touch for a donation deck, or if you just got some ideas you want to throw at me, by all means do that too via the Discord or whatever, or the comments section. Alright, I think we are done for today, so thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.